Welcome, everybody. It's a small group at the moment, but I hope more people join in or they can watch the recording later. Of course, it depends on if there's interesting questions, but I'm sure that we can figure something out to talk about. So my name is Timo, as listed in the meeting agenda. I'm responsible for coordination of development and for actual part of the development. So I have an IT and a creative background. I'm mainly self-taught, and yeah, that's me. I don't know if you guys want to quickly introduce yourselves, maybe, so that I, again, know what you're doing and we can proceed from there.
Let's start from me. My name is Elena. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a product manager, head of product. And in the game, I have a team which name is the World of Grasp.
Mm-hmm. Right, cool.
Thank you.
Maria, what can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I've just been moving around, so I don't think I have a lot to tell.
Well, it can be something about what you're doing, what you're interested in, why you're here, maybe. Why did you participate in Timo Switch? Everything can be interesting. Just quick 30 seconds, maybe.
Well, okay, I've decided to see what it is about, the startup world and the entrepreneurial world, and whether I might fit in or not. Mm-hmm. Because it's, in my opinion, it's completely different to working in a corporation or in a big company or even in a small company. So I just wanted to have a clearer idea whether I need to go further or maybe not, because I don't think it's for everyone.
Yeah, of course. That's very good. Shillard, welcome that you joined. Maybe you can also do a quick introduction.
Hi everyone. I'm Sheku, and it's 2 years that I'm thinking about starting a startup. First of all, I changed my job from being an employee to the art area to a freelancer, and now I'm thinking about starting my business. And this game is really interesting for me because it has very useful knowledge.
Cool. All right. Very, very glad to hear that you're contributing to that knowledge aspect. So how can we best start this? Do you guys have specific questions or topics you want to address? Maybe we just take a turn, and we'll try to find if there is a common topic, maybe, so I can talk a bit more, and then we can go more into individual topics.
I have a question about the website of our business.
Yeah.
Some days ago we talked about Adolo, that we can make a website without any coding there. But I thought when our members, our customers, become more and more, the security is become more important, because some of our websites have many contacts and many important information of customers. So I have this question that after becoming bigger and bigger, we should switch to a coding website, or Adolo can, or some websites such as Adolo can secure the information of our customers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go a few steps back, right? So you say website. Let me find out what you mean. So you mean the company website where they can go to, and what is the action of the people that go there? Can you explain to me what they will be doing? Will they book a meeting? Will they sign a contact form? Will they look at products? What is the function of the website? It's the first thing I have to know, because I can't give you.
For example, I am thinking about the website which gives the information of contacts and the cards about credit cards of people. And it's really important to be secure, because if someone hacks this kind of website, they can steal all the information of them, or maybe other information of people who want to purchase something from a website, maybe.
So how this normally works, depending if you have subscriptions or not, you would try not to store the data. Yeah? So you will try not to store anything that can be used in a bad way. That's maybe rule number one. If you actually need to store that data, then you have to think about the layers that are in between, right? So, for example, when you have payment details on file, yeah, those are often not directly connected to the website. Then it would be better to put that aspect, that collection, so you can do the collection in a DALO, but then it would be better to have it in a separate database, in a separate secure environment. That's also for if you do management on a DALO, you can see everybody's credit card information. It's also for your own security, because then you don't need to interact with that so much. So what I would advise you is that you think from the beginning, okay, do I need this data? Yes or no? If you do not need the data, please do not store it, right? Give it back to the user, say, no, I will not store this for you. For example, have them re-enter their credit card information, right? If it's a yearly fee they have to pay once a year. It's just a payment they have to do. Okay, might be a solution. Because the way, for example, these Stripe plugins work is that the payment gets executed, but you never have the credit card on file. And even after this, there are ways to have subscriptions without having the credit card on file. Those work a bit different. So I would suggest to look, if you are worried about payment information, to really look for payment solutions. Payment solutions are exactly designed to handle this for you. If it's about other data security, then again, do not store what you don't want to have risk, and store things separately as much as possible. So if you have a web page and there is going to be maybe a product that people buy, then there is a login, and of course, then people can maybe see their past purchases, but that past purchase should not include any data that you never want to have shared with anybody else. Yeah. What you would then also need to do is make sure that there is a different system where you yourself have access to, where maybe the invoice data, so that if somebody requests the invoice, maybe it's a manual action to prepare to send the invoice again. Maybe the first time it gets generated, the system does it for you, and the second time it is a manual only operation. So I would always think about putting several layers in between, and then it's already much harder to go after that last data point. Your question is, can a DALO and such thing, can it scale? I think yes. I think also no. I think nothing can scale without code, but not code that you will write it, but that you understand what it is doing. Not you in particular, but you need to have an understanding of what is a database. Why might I run into issues? Why do I need to store maybe my data into a separate database? So the scaling issue will arise maybe more from the things that you need. Okay, we need to have this kind of security. Oh, yes, now you need to have something additional. Another thing is that, and we noticed this ourselves, is that you start in a DALO, everything is very fine and very happy, and you are very, very happy. And then you want to do some specific thing. And then this specific thing is very difficult. When normally in code, it would be easy. Yeah? So you will run into pros and cons for no code. I think it's not a blocking problem. I think it's a matter of when you start knowing that code is not bad. Yeah, code can help. Code can make things easier. And I just the example that I can give you is that in our backend we have something that is a piece of content, like a piece of text, which sometimes needs to be styled in a certain way. It needs to have colors, and it needs to have headings and things like that. If you create something in no code, and you also have to then in a solution create all the buttons and all the things to make that, is a lot of work. I am capable of writing something in HTML, for example, that will display beautifully. Yeah. In our platform, in Bubble, we use something that was embedded. It's called BBScript, but it means that I have to create the template. So I create the example, and then I give it to somebody else to write the text. No problem. If I don't create the example, you will not know how to create a heading. So that's maybe how I would handle the limitations of no code. I would look to a developer and say, okay, what is the limitation? Okay, what can you do so that I can work around this limitation? That's the job of the coder. So for example, I am now creating the messaging system that we have for mobile version because Bubble does not really support mobile. So probably what now will be happening is that we will extract the entire messaging system from Bubble. But I still have the login is going to Bubble, so I still use all the Bubble components, except now I've built one part that is not not within Bubble. So yes, I cannot draw nice boxes. No, I have to write code for everything. But I have more flexibility, and I can make a mobile version. We can make a version for the phone itself to install it. So then we can have push notifications. So that's the reason why I am doing this. And because communication between team members, in my opinion, is very important. So that's why I made it a bit of a bigger focus. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. But I thought that we need an IT guy from the beginning, no?
No, you can do everything without. There's a lot of services that allow you to create a simple web page, and I think the skills that you would need to learn to do this, at least when you're starting out, to create a simple website, it's not rocket science. People have been doing this for years. Where you might need help is on interactivity, on how things need to be perfectly styled or work everywhere in a perfect way. But that's not the goal. You need something. And I think to create something and to learn a bit of HTML, to write a static website, it's not difficult. Everybody can do this. To write a beautiful one, it's more difficult. But to start, to get a hosting provider, to write your first HTML page, and then understand, okay, this is how it works. Okay, then you can also understand what is actually $1 doing for me. So I think it's a bad way to just rely on no code and not know what is behind it. I think that will cause issues later on, especially, for example, then you have so many options, but you don't know what you need, so you just create something. It's not well thought out. If you have to write, for example, there's a really great HTML starting instruction that I hope everybody will book the card on the platform. I will go through that with you, but it's an awesome instruction that doesn't give you the ability to get a website. That's not what it's doing, but it explains to you what it's used for. What is the purpose? And the purpose of HTML is to classify information, to put it into groups and to put it into collections, into sections and things. So it's a bit different, and not really a lot of people understand that that's the purpose. They think it's to create websites. No, the purpose is to structure information. And if you can structure information, then you can also structure it later for the developer, right? So it's a big difference if the developer has to structure your information or not. So in that sense, it helps to have a bit of background information. I think this is,
Thank you.
really,
Thank
really,
you. It was very useful.
all right. Somebody else has a question.
I have a question, but I'm in the restaurant. I don't know if you can hear me well.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Okay, perfect. So I have a question to the last class that we with our team got. So
Yeah.
it is about social media.
Mhm.
And yeah, so the first task is to create a page in some social media. It's understandable, but the second one is to create a tutorial about engaging content or something.
Mhm.
And I didn't really get it because from my point of view, tutorial, it's something that you make to teach other people.
Yeah.
But in our case, it's more like a strategy, or like, what do you mean by the tutorial?
I think that's exactly what we mean, right? So make a step-by-step instruction how to do this. Maybe specific for your company, maybe specific for your idea, right? For me, this is called also you need to define the language, the voice of your process, right? So maybe if you write an Instagram post, you will always use these 5 hashtags. If you write a Instagram post, you will always use the image with the logo underneath. Things like that is already in an instruction that massively shapes how you will do things, but also how you explain it to others. So the best way to understand the process better is to try and explain it to others. So that's why this challenge is there. So it's a challenge to try and write it down so that you can explain it to others, because that's technically what we need to do in the company as well, right? So in a company, you have people working for you, you have the grand vision, you have the idea, and you need to have the idea executed. I can tell you it's never going to happen if you just say, hey, this is the idea, here, go. Unless you keep watching them. And even then, right? You meant A and they do Z, right? So it's often it's completely different. And that's why I think having some experience and practicing with putting processes in place, or at least describing how you do things, even when you have never done them before. So arguably 95% of my work is things that I've never done before, and I have to do them today, and I have to be better at it than everybody else. That's my job, right? That's the thing I'm doing. So if my developer says, hey, I can't figure this out, I have to try and help him, right? And I also have other tasks, but I will try and help. And because and luckily I can do it because I read a bit better. Maybe my English is a bit better. Maybe I can spend more time on actually reading than just programming, because I don't really program. I find the solution. And in the end, sometimes it takes me a few hours, but I can make sure that the developer doesn't waste more time when he's making a logic mistake or when he's making something else. So that's kind of the same, right? So it's the ability to, even when you don't know yet how to do social media engagement, try and find it out and try to write down to somebody else how they need to do it. I think it's an awesome practice.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, now it's clear. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else got another question? And maybe Maria or Elena?
Yes, sorry for my video.
No worries.
I have a question not about codes, but about team building, I think.
Yeah. All right.
So usually entrepreneurs don't have a deep knowledge of the cutting edge technologies. My question is how to find a CTO and be sure that he has experienced it. For example, in one case, he can say that something is not possible, but just because he has lack of experience. And the other case, he will promise something, but will just take salary and will resign in a year without any result.
I think you have to go a bit more back, right? So what is the purpose of your CTO, right? What do you want him to do? Tell me.
CTO, in my opinion, is a leader of developers, I think.
Yeah. Do you already have developers?
Yeah.
Okay, how many?
One.
One. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need a CTO. Yeah.
I have.
If you have one developer, you don't need a CTO. I think the role of the CTO's job is to either in a very small startup to manage everything IT related. Yeah, that could be from password management to setting up servers to everything, right? Just making sure that everything is going on schedule, and it needs to be the person that understands you the best. So when I talk about female Switch, for example, but together with Violetta, now after 3 months, 2 months, continue full-time working on it, I know all the things that she meant and wanted to do that sometimes are lost in translation. So it means that you want the person that is CTO to be the closest to you, that understands if you say, I want them to be doing this, that he says, oh, but I understand that also means this, this, and this, and this. He doesn't need, in my opinion, then to be also the person that executes, but he needs to be the person that understands what the developer is executing and to make sure that what they're doing is aligned with what you wanted. So can I give a concrete example? Let me think about something. A very simple example, right? So when we have teams, right, and then my boss says, "Oh yeah, we have one winner at the end. One person wins something." My alarm bells go off. Hey, but we have teams. What happens to the other 4 people in the team? What is the calculation that we do to make sure which team member wins? Oh, we don't have that. Okay, so then we cannot have a prize for just one person unless we do something else. So he's the person, the CTO should be the person that has a critical conversation with you to make sure that what you want and what is being developed is aligned. Instead of just giving developers a task, can you create me a website with a login function, right? Well, very good, but they might spend way too much time on a login function, right? Maybe you just need something that they can enter a unique code, and if you enter that code, you see that thing that you wanted to see, right? So maybe it's like a one password, yeah, and that's mostly because of the misalignment between what you want and what the developer will execute, right? So the CTO should be that bridge, and I think when you have one developer, either you need to be your own CTO, which is quite hard, yeah, or the developer needs to be good enough to understand what you want. But I think in terms of testing their level, that's very difficult, right? You have to work with them for a bit of time to understand how it's going, right? The developer needs to understand what they want. That's also important. But I think the only part that you can do is to verify if you explain to him some concept, if he actually understands, and not understands the top layer, right? Yeah. We have several sublayers, and you know about these sublayers from your perspective, right? And he needs to be able to explain to you what are the implications of each sublayer. So if I say I want to have a website for 1 million users, right? He says 1 million users doing what? Because it can be anything, right? The same conversation I just had with Sheila. What is your website going to do? So he needs to ask you these questions. So a good way to test is to start talking and see how during the interview, see how he follows that process. So that would be my recommendation. Find somebody that can ask the right questions and ask them, right? The CTO should ask you the most questions of everybody else. Because if he doesn't ask the question, the developer will build something you don't need. So then that's and in terms of CTO styles, there is a lot of different types of CTOs, in my opinion. Some who program, some who just manage, some who do something else. I focus mostly on creating prototypes and small components. But for Female Switch, I've also created a lot of bug fixes and other things. And the main developer does the main part, right? So it's important that if I don't ask the question, my other developer will not ask the question. He'll just build what he thinks. So that's my job, and my job is also then to watch my developer, and by watch I mean actually watch. So I think as a CTO, I should be spending time with the developer, with them programming, and me watching majority of the time. That's my idea of being a good CTO. I am the most valuable when I am with one of my programmers in a meeting like this, when they share the screen, and when they are trying something, I can find the documentation. I can read it. I can understand it. I can make the connection between requirements that they don't know about. I can say, hey, don't do this now, because if we do this and this now, we have a problem later. So that's how I can save time. But the person needs to have this process in place. It's not your job to teach them this. So you'll find a good CTO if this process is there, of asking questions, of checking what you mean.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And Maria, and then we can make another round. You have a question, Maria?
Maybe you can elaborate a bit more on the payment systems and how they are incorporated into service websites, because as far as I know, and that's not the best knowledge, before companies were created so that all the payments first went through the company, through the company banking account, and then they were divided to service providers, for instance. But now with Stripe, it's different, as far as I understand, or no?
Yes, it's different in the sense that the payment is handled by Stripe. The infrastructure is handled by Stripe, so you don't need to have
tons of cash flowing through your banking account.
Yeah, so normally when you wanted to do this, you would need to have a MasterCard contract, right, for your company that, for example, accepted credit cards, and then it would come directly on that subscription. You would have it directly with MasterCard. So now all of this has been replaced probably by a few of the bigger payment providers, and it's my advice: please use them, because making your own is just not worth it. Don't do
like Stripe and others.
Right? Yeah. And I mean, they charge a bit for the transaction, but it's unless you run into issues with that because of the low amount of volume that you have. But maybe then you shouldn't accept credit card, or you should have some other monetization system. I don't know. But what they are actually doing is basically now Stripe has the contract with MasterCard and Visa. Stripe has the infrastructure, and you get it on your bank account, but the person first paid to Stripe. There is an additional thing to remark there, is that if you use these payment providers and you do things that are classified untrustworthy or potentially illegal or whatever, such as drop shipping, for example. Drop shipping.
Okay.
It's not illegal, right? But it's where a lot of people have problems with, right? Because of lack of support, because of bad products, because of long delivery times, whatever. So that means that they are more careful. So that means also that you sign a contract, read that contract really well, because if that contract says that if you do drop shipping and they expect, or they don't trust what you're doing, they could freeze your account for 2 or 3 months. So that means that for 3 months you don't have income, right? So that's very tough if that would happen, right? So in that sense, if you implement the payment provider, it's not that hard to implement two and to turn off. Yeah, so to have 2 ways that people can pay. It's also not particularly mandatory that if somebody does want to pay directly and there is a way to do it, then you can accept also direct payments. how you can then facilitate that, that's again a different story. But I would not confine myself always to we just accept one. We just have Stripe, period, right? If you want to be, depends on where you are in your company, of course. If you are and what you're doing, I say 95% of the companies don't have a problem with it. There is a few percentage that has a problem with it that actually deserves to, because they are not doing the right things, right? Not giving support, people that do chargebacks. And then there is a very small percentage that gets these blocks for a reason, but it's not true, and they have to wait, and they have to reclaim, and they have to put in effort. So read the contract really well. That's my main advice. It depends also if you have a physical shop, right? Because there's now also things like SumUp, right, where you can have a card where they can pay when they're at your store physically, or when you're doing a service for them, physical payment. It depends a bit on your customer. So do you have any specific customer in mind?
No, I guess
Just a general question.
yes, just a general question. Yes.
Yeah, and so some of these also support subscriptions. Some of these don't. So it's always good to look at multiple and to classify. Okay, what do I need? What is the requirement? Do I fall in the category high risk? So, for example, if you start tomorrow a cryptocurrency company, might be a problem later on when Stripe says, well, I don't really think that you should be having this money now. Let's wait for 2 months if people don't do chargebacks. They're not taking your money, but they're just freezing it for the moment that people can still do the chargeback, right? Because otherwise they might pay you out, and then people do the chargeback, and then there is no more money. So it's something to protect people. So you have to be aware that these protections are causing a burden for you as a company, but they provide additional security. And I think implementation of these plugins is often it's quite well integrated currently. You don't need to do a lot of things to implement Stripe. Stripe is pretty easy to implement in Adalo, in Bubble, in all kinds of things. There's plugins, there's pre-made things. Also, when you are creating your own thing in code, then it's also possible to implement things like Stripe, because basically they handle everything from the moment the user clicks the pay button, and you only have to make sure that you handle the rest when the payment is correctly executed. Did that answer?
Yes, it answers my question, and I have another one.
Yeah.
For instance, if you use Bubble to generate leads, is it possible, for instance, to generate leads of some customers of organic growth? I'm not sure. Going to the Bubble service providing website and finding the service providers. Can it be done with Bubble without code, just as a first?
By leads, you mean you want to know that when they click there, you want to have their details or something?
Not quite. It's again, as far as I understand, not all startups start with generating money, with having Stripe, for instance, with having payments. So some start by simple lead generation. They, for instance, they provide info that their idea is actually has value for people. So my question is, with Bubble, if you make it with Bubble without code, without an IT person, can it be done? Can it be actually? Yeah,
it's very easy actually. This is just collection of data. That's not difficult. To create a form in Bubble is not particularly difficult. And even further, if you then combine it with, for example, Make.com, former Integromat, which there's also courses on during this program. I don't know exactly when, but it has been mentioned, or it will be mentioned. Then you can, for example, connect that data to a Excel sheet, even, right? So that you not only have the data in your Bubble web page, but you can take it out and you can actually then use it in something else. Also, Bubble has a quite good API, which you can use to extract data from it. How you need to use that is, of course, a bit more difficult. So you would need to talk with me or talk with somebody technical to set it up for you. But so there are ways to connect Bubble to something else. Yeah, so you could have that Excel sheet then connected to MailChimp, and in MailChimp you can then send emails to those people. You can connect it to something else as well. So there's a lot of these services now that allow you to basically create all of these things that you want in terms of lead generation, classification, maybe reminders, things like that, right? You can make them. It's quite easy. Yeah. In Bubble, the problem to create mobile applications is there. So creating something for mobile is very difficult on Bubble. Maybe Adalo would be better for that. So if you look at Adalo, there's also the opportunity to create forms and to have people enter contact details and things like that. Even Tilda, where you can create it's just a website builder, has that. So if you are lead generation, then start with Tilda. It's I think it has it has built-in connection to Google Sheets. It's the most easy way. You will run into limitations at some moment, and the moment you find yourself copying and pasting information from one application to another, stop. Then please get some IT person to help you with this connection, that specific connection. You should not be doing things manually.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Unless, of course, you expect 5 leads, then yes, then do it manually. But
that's my next question. On the organic growth. So everyone is talking that there is some notion of organic growth, which isn't marketing and on social media or anywhere else. But how do you do that? For instance, you throw an application to, I don't know, an Apple store, for instance, and then what? You wait?
I don't think that works. No.
Yeah, that works.
What do you think? Can you describe organic growth for me? What is organic growth for you?
Well, I believe it's the number of users who come somehow organically. That's the problem I don't understand.
What do you mean organically? Okay, by organically you mean you don't pay for them, right?
Yes, you don't. They're not a result of some marketing campaign. For instance,
difficult, right? So your Instagram page is marketing. Your Instagram page might lead to somebody just scrolling past, seeing, oh, it's interesting, and then going to your website. Is it organic or not? It's not. It's not the. It's not the advertising.
That's organic.
Okay, so it's when you don't pay for marketing services, yeah, but you are doing marketing. You are doing things, right? You are talking to people. So organic growth, right? Organic growth would be now if I talk to you guys and say, hey, can you visit my website? I've created something cool. Can you check it out, right? And then one of you does it and then sends it to 5 other friends. That's organic growth. Even though that I put in the effort to contact you or to talk with you. So if I give it to you 4 and I say, here, go there, that's not organic growth. I did cold outreach. I still think that's organic because I didn't pay money for it. So I think if you start paying money, so you do an advertisement, somebody clicks the advertisement, then they come to your website, then it's not organic, right? It's paid. When you do a LinkedIn post and that post gets seen 500 times and then 25 people click on the link that was in there, that's organic growth. That doesn't mean that was not supported by an advertisement, right? So because those 400 views might have been because of a paid advertisement, it might then be that the person that saw it didn't see the advertisement, but saw it because somebody else liked it. Right? So it's hard to classify organic growth as something very rigid. I think it's a more flexible category. So it also means that you can track it by number of views on your website. You can track it by on which position you are on Google, for example. Organic growth also means, are you
the position on Google? So, but you buy it or no?
No. When you don't buy it, right? So the position in Google, which you gain organically, right? So if you optimize your web page, you will be higher on Google, right? If a lot of people talk about you being, I don't know, if you the best diamond store in the world, and then if you search, I want to find the best diamonds, your store will come up, will come up first. If a lot of people are talking about it, so you need to have engagement with your content. So engagement is important. You need to have to track all of these parameters, right? So that you can compare them. And yeah, then you also need to do the same marketing, which is then paid growth, but that paid growth supports the organic growth. It's one of the reasons why, for example, on LinkedIn, if you post with your company account and you don't have any advertisements, your views will be 1, 2, that's it, right? Will be very limited, right?
Okay.
Personal account then is better, right? The personal account has more interaction. But deliberately, these platforms, they want to make money, right? So how do they make money? Because if you pay for advertising, right? So why would they give away too much advertising for free, right? There's a sort of requirement. You have to pay at least something in advertising for the organic growth to be possible too. Doesn't mean you cannot do it, but then you need to find the tricks.
Okay, and yeah, for the marketing budget, I don't understand it. It depends, but for a startup, how big is the marketing budget?
It depends.
It depends. Okay.
Okay. If you have a product, physical product, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's say I sell PlayStation controllers. Yeah? Okay. This is my product. Then you will have people that want to buy this, right? You want to test if they want to buy it, right? Okay. So what you do a crowdfund, right? So you start having people that pay for one when it's not actually there, right? So they pre-order. Okay. How much? At that moment, marketing is maybe your largest budget, maybe half. Yeah. Because if nobody sees that I'm selling this, nobody will buy one. Yeah. All right. If I don't have a product yet, yeah, if I have an idea, right, and I want to validate, right, and I'm not actually making money on people, right, what kind of marketing will I be doing, right? I will be doing anything that gives me answers to market research. So I want to do marketing that gives me an answer: do people want this or not? So maybe I create a fake web page where you can click buy, and then it says, "Oh, we're sorry, this product is not live yet. Please wait until X time," right? For that, you don't really need to spend as much money to validate, right? Because you're just validating. If out of every 100 people on the website don't buy, only one person buys it, clicks the button, you might have not really have a good product, right? You need to maybe optimize something. If you want to have customer contact about this product, then your marketing needs to lead to that specific point, right? So in my opinion, as a startup, you need to be very particular about what you want to achieve with your marketing budget. So for example, if you have a product and you have and you can already sell it, right? It's very good to do a test with somebody on YouTube that has a channel about the topic that you're making something for. Maybe you're making something for babies, and there's a mom channel that wants to collaborate with you, and you pay them for each person that actually installs your program or becomes a beta tester, if you are finding beta testers. I think paying for single users for a startup is a very good way to start. Next to, of course, keeping the brand building. A lot of things you can do for free. You really don't need to have an extensive marketing budget. That's reserved for when you have a product that only derives its value from that marketing. So it really depends on the product. But I would have a very clear focus on what you need to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Every market and
Okay.
everything you spend on marketing needs to be there for that goal, not for some secondary effect or for some other. That's not gonna help you. You need beta testers, right? Focus your marketing on how to get beta testers. And if the most effective way is to pay a YouTube channel to find you 10 beta testers, then do that, right? Do that. Perfect. If you need to have engagement from a large community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then go on Twitter and start talking about it and try to get organic growth. Organic growth in the sense that don't pay for it, see if people like it and want to share it for free. Don't reward people. You can reward them maybe with a discount in the future, right? If they send it to 5 people, maybe things like that, right? So you can influence the organic growth. And I have an example. I do a side project of a NFT game where one of my friends who started it without product, just with a idea, with a explanation of the game, explanation of the characters, explanation of the story behind it. We got 16,000 people in Discord. Well, that's validation, right?
60,000 for the
60.
first game.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have no product. We have no product, right? There's no product. There's no product there. It's just story, and we just have people in the Discord now, right? So it's what we have basically is 16,000 people that say, interesting. That's it.
Oh, so there is no product. There is just a notion of NFT game.
Yeah, with an idea and something that we've written out, and so that already is massive validation for the story, right?
Yes.
It's not validation for if they will like the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also
But
not.
it's the validation that they want to play.
It's the validation that they're interested. So that means, okay, great. We are one step further than when you don't have this, right? It also means that the moment we do anything branding-wise, when we release something or when we do partnerships with somebody, we have 16,000 people interested to share this. Well, that's organic growth, right?
That's organic growth. Okay.
Yeah.
And you did it simply by talking about an NFT game.
Yeah. And arguably that doesn't work in every scenario. So for CatChain, it was much harder. For Female Switch, even more so, because the more abstract your idea is, the more difficult, right? The more tangible your idea.
But NFT game is also abstract.
NFT game is not really abstract. It's a game. I have a story. The question is, do you like the story or not? Do you like the artwork? And we had some images drawn up, or at least my friend already had that when I started helping him. So that it's not a product, but it's a very good idea of what it's about, right? If I tell you that we are creating an AI system that's meant to reduce bias in data algorithms.
Not interesting.
Not interested, right? And then I tell, but if I phrase it differently, and I say that, do you know that in modern medicine, still today, when you are prescribed medicine, it's prescribed actually to a man of 45 years old, weighing 80 kilograms, even if you're a woman.
Okay, well, that's something.
No differentiation between it, right? So there's just one standard of the dosage you need to receive, period. Whether you're thick, thin, long, tall, women, male, doesn't matter, right? And that's also something, right? So that's bias, right? If I explain it to you like this, right, I could focus my marketing attention to, hey, did you know that this and this is true? Are you interested to learn more? So I could focus on seeing if I put out this tagline, not we're creating AI, no, but I'm going to ask women, hey, did you know that everything that in the world is created is now created using the data from a man? And then you say, oh, I didn't know that. And then you start reading and reading and reading. And at the bottom, maybe after a few layers, there is, okay, yes, I want to invest, or I'm interested in putting money this. I want to share it with some friends, right? that you can track. Hey, I got 500 views on this topic, whether or not you paid for them, right? Out of those 500, 100 people send it to 5 other friends. Super cool, right? And 50 people want to pay €5 as a donation or as a crowdfunding campaign. Perfect, right? That's
okay. Yes, I do understand now.
It depends on what is your product, how do you phrase it, and then also how will you do the validation, right? So for the game, the validation is also incomplete because at this moment we feel that we need to actually build something that actually has a game element in it before we start asking for money from everybody, or at least have it as a clear idea, right? So you cannot always create demand before the product. It's the goal to create demand before you have a product, but it's not always possible. And to find the alternative steps you can do, that's the goal for a startup.
Oh, okay.
Because if you can bridge that gap, then you have a successful startup. You can find clients. That's the goal.
Okay, so it's a validation and something else.
Yeah, validation and tracking of what happens with this validation. Why? Sometimes you need to talk to people to understand it, right? It's not always that you can do it with a questionnaire, unfortunately.
Also, not that they just came to your website, but whether they are really interested or had nothing to do.
So, for example, the fact that
whether they're willing to pay.
Yeah. So, for example, the fact that you 3 are here now in this meeting means that there is interest. Yeah. How much interest? Okay, we have to calculate, right? But the fact that we had a lot of signups, we lost a few people along the way because of time, because of maybe we were too slow. Yeah, because it started a bit slower. I still think we delivered a lot of value. But then you see, hey, there's people that when something doesn't work really good, they will give up, right? Is that bad for us now? No. Technically, we simulated at this moment the real life completely. Maybe too much, right? Even the writing contracts in the game was difficult. Yeah, exactly like in real life. I have the same problems. So we were too realistic now, not because of choice, but because of some platform errors, because it's MVP, because it's a pilot. So we will need to find now solutions, or maybe think about, okay, maybe we need to make it less realistic. Maybe we need to remove contracting from the game, or maybe how can we do it in a way that is beneficial for people, but doesn't hurt the amount of people coming in. But even though it would be better in theory to have something that actually is quite difficult, because then the people that actually make it are patient enough, are showing up, are communicative, they will manage to get to the next level. The other people just stop. It's not good for us as a platform because we want more users, but it's good for the idea that we find which one of you is an entrepreneur, and we teach you skills to do it, and then to do whatever you want, right? You don't need to. If you decide to not be an entrepreneur after this, it's completely fine, right? You can make a conscious decision about it. So yeah, that's basically what we are doing with validation at the moment. That's why this pilot is so valuable for us, because it allows us to test, to see how the things that we imagined, even if we imagined them wrong or we made mistakes doing it, we now have a lot of data that we can analyze. Oh, we wanted to do this. We built that, but they wanted something else. Where's the problem? So we can find now the answer to it. And then when we launch, then marketing becomes important for us, because then it's no longer validation. Then it's about, okay, how are we going to charge people for a small amount? For what are we going to charge them with? What is going to work? What is not going to work? So that's you have to constantly tiptoe between validation and actually getting customers, right? It's two things. It's two things. Hopefully, validation leads to a customer. Possible. It doesn't always do that. I hope that answers your question about.
Yes, yes, it does. It does.
Elena.
It does answer my question about the organic growth and validation and things like that.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Elena, do you have maybe another question, or should any of the others? I have some minutes left.
No, I have no questions.
All
Super
right.
session. Thank you, Timo.
Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, I have a few cards on the platform. If you have anything else that you want to ask me, send me a message on the platform or on my Switch email address I put here in the channel. You can also send me a WhatsApp message on my WhatsApp number. Yeah. So here, in general, I'm available. I'm always happy to talk for a bit about anything, any problem that you have. If you have any questions, or if you are wondering if your CTO is good enough, you can always talk to me for a few minutes, no problem. And I think that's one of the advices that I can give you. If you want to know if you have a good CTO, find another CTO and ask them, hey, can I talk to you for a few minutes to find out how what you do and to learn about how I can hire a good CTO. I think you will be amazed at how many people want to talk about their own job and want to talk about what they do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So to talk to other people regarding finding developers and CTOs, they really want to talk.
You message somebody and say, hey, I would like, hey, would you maybe have 5 minutes to spare, or 10 minutes for coffee or whatever, or for a video meeting, whatever. I would really like to hear what your job as CTO entails, because maybe I'm going to hire someday as CTO. I'm really interested in what I need to do, and maybe make it very specific to that person, or for that. And I saw that you're working at this company. I think the company is doing great things, so you must be put some feathers up their ass. I think that works. People do want to talk about what they do as a job, right? And in those conversations, try to make a network. I've had so many mentors. I've had so many people guiding and helping us that if there's a question I cannot answer, I will go to one of them and ask. Unfortunately, the level of mentors is not always that great, so there's not a lot of people that I can ask. I will ask. There is a particular person in Malta, for example, Gareth Jenner from Trust Stamp, who helped me do the subsidy application in Malta. And he was the first one who actually just took the time to be in a meeting with me and to explain the financial report that he made for this. Nobody else knew how to do it, right? Nobody else did it. And he just shared me the template with me. I already had a connection with him, of course, because we were connected by Malta Enterprise, the development agency. But it's interesting to see by Shillard. So it's always interesting to keep building your own network, so that you can rely on that network later on if you have a quick question. And nobody minds, hey, if you just want to talk for a few minutes. But make it a habit, right? Don't start talking to a CTO when you need a CTO. People feel that. Start talking to them before, right? Start hanging out with developers. Go on Discord, there is developer chats, right? Start seeing, hey, I'm not a developer, but I'm interested in learning more. And that way, that if you make a few connections, a few good people that you can trust, and you can ask them, hey, can you validate this person for me? I'm happy to pay you for your time. So you can even do that, right? So I might be in the most lucky situation where my brother was a very high IT person at Spotify. So if I need something validated, I will just call my brother and ask if he wants to take a look. So that's, of course, a family relationship, but I have other people that I can ask these same questions to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would say it's not obvious.
Let's keep in touch. I will write you or
All
call
right.
you.
Cool. If you have any, let me know. All right. I thank you for attending, and also for the people that just left, maybe they watched the recording, and for other people that are going to watch this later on. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this was a beneficial AMA.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.